Hello viewers, it's Josie. Welcome back to Eclectic Movie Reviews. And tonight is February 12th, so 2 days from now is Valentine's Day. And in honor of that, I am going to talk about 10, I'm going to recommend 10 romance movies for this Valentine's Day. And this stuff doesn't have to just watch during Valentine's Day. You can watch romance movies all year round. Um, uh, anyway, without further ado, here I go. My first slot, youngish, teenish, love. Well, in this movie, they're is post high school, but it's still youngish enough. And that is this is The Rage in Placid Lake, written and directed by Tony McNamara, and starring Ben Lee, young Rose Byrne, Gary MacDonald, and Miranda Richardson. And Miranda Richardson's such a terrific actress. Rose Byrne you may know from Bridesmaids and Spy and Instant Family and Neighbors. She was much younger in this. So I'm going to read the back of the case. Oh, wait, before I start reading back of the case, I only note Tony McNamara was the screenwriter behind Yorgos Lanthimos' The Favorite. And he also wrote the screenplay, to Cruella with Emma Stone that came out in 2021. And he, I believe he's behind that Hulu show, The Great. I haven't watched it, but I think, I could be wrong, but I think he is heavily involved with that. Anyway, Placid Lake. That's the character's name. Played by Ben Lee, has always been different. His crayon-eating scientific genius of a best friend, Gemma, played by Rose Byrne, also has a few issues with blending in. As an odd fish in a sea of mediocrity, his brilliant ideas are bound to get him into more trouble than success. So when he finds himself in a tight spot with the school bullies who have been after him all his life, Placid decides to make a bid for the elusive normal life. To his parents' horror, he gets a normal job. And it's like this job at like this white collar insurance company that like very clearly cuts corners. And soon he is embracing conformity on the fast track to corporate success. But can Placid finally retire his rage in the pursuit of normalcy, or will his plan backfire? So yeah, it's a workplace satire and a cute, fun, charming coming of age rom-com. And it's about embracing uniqueness and individuality, accepting yourself for who you are, no matter how quote unquote weird you are. Yeah, I highly recommend this one. This is from Film Movement DVD. I don't know if there's a Blu-ray of this. From what I would have to do some more research into that. But yeah, I highly recommend you guys check this out, especially if you like Rose Byrne and want to see her when she was younger. Anyway, for my animation slot, I'm going with Adventures of Prince Ahmed from 1926, directed by Lotte Reininger. I could be mispronouncing her name, but inspired by 1001 Nights, this is the earliest surviving feature-length animated film as of what's studied, and directed by a woman As our titular hero journeys on his magic horse, he meets and falls in love with the beautiful Princess Paribanu. In order to win her heart, Ahmed must defeat a group of demons. What was really innovative about what Latu Ranninger did here was that she invented her very own silhouette animation entailing cardboard cutouts. And it's a similar style to shadow puppets, and to this day, we don't really see animation like that at all. I think the closest thing, although not really, is Michel Ocelot's Princess and Princesses and Tales of the Night. Note that those are two separate movies. Michel Ocelot is a French filmmaker who makes anime movies, known for Princess and Princesses, Kiroku and the Sorceress, and a couple of other Kiroku films. Princess and Princesses and Tales of the Night are both fairy tale anthology films. They don't use shadow puppets, but the characters are drawn as if they are shadow puppets. And I would not be surprised if Michel Ocelot was inspired by the adventures of Prince Ahmed. And to that point, from a storytelling standpoint, what's cool about the narrative of Prince Ahmed is how it is able to be an intricate series of intertwined vignettes in such a short runtime. And it's really I brought up how this was directed by a woman, and one thing that really bothers me in modern film discourse is when film Twitter acts like female directors is suddenly a brand new thing, and like when there have been really great female directors working for a really long time, like back to the silent era, and they act like Greta Gerwig is like the only female director. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you get what I mean. Anyway, Adventures of Prince Ahmed is available to watch on Canopy, and it is on Blu-ray from Kino Lorber. And Canopy, for those of you who don't know, is a library streaming service. Like it's a streaming service connected to certain libraries. Granted, not every library has it, but I highly recommend, if it does, you signing up for it. It's free with your library card. Next up for my love triangle slot is here it goes. Win a Date with Tad Hamilton from 2004. As you guys know, I'm a sucker for movies where best friends fall in love. Kind of like Rage and Placid Lake I mentioned earlier. So Pete Monash, played by Topher Grace from That 70s Show, and Rosalie Futch, played by Kate Bosworth, work at a grocery store together called the Piggly Wiggly in Fraser's Bottom, West Virginia, which is a real place. That's a real town. Topher Grace is the manager, and he and Kate Bosworth have been best friends for a really long time, and Topher Grace's character has been secretly in love with her, but he's afraid to confess his feelings. And Rosalie's celebrity crush is this actor named Tad Hamilton, played by Josh Duhamel. And the fake movies that he's in that they show are hilarious. They're sort of like the fake movies that would be in the show Drake and Josh. I know I'm going off tangent here, but in the show Drake and Josh, they worked at a movie theater. In the background, you'd see posters for fake movies, and the movies Tad Hamilton is in seems like one of those. And this is around the same time period too. So in order to improve his public image and get better roles, Tad and his agents or managerial team arrange a sweepstakes where a lucky girl can go out on a date with him. And then Rosalie is the winner. She Tad slowly start going out after their first initial date, and as one would imagine Pete gets jealous and he has to step up and tell Rosalie the truth about his love for her. And because obviously he's the one she should be with. And I have to mention the other actors who are in here, besides Topher Grace, Kate Bosworth, and Josh Duhamel, of course. Nathan Lane and Sean Hayes are his management team. And Catherine Hahn is a bartender with words of wisdom. Jennifer Goodwin plays Kate Bosworth's character's best friend, Kathy. And Gary Cole from Office Space and Talladega Nights is also in this. It's adorable. It's super cheesy, but the good kind of cheesy. Win a Date with Tad Hamilton is available to watch on Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, and YouTube. Next up is my marital portrait slot. And I'm going with the... This is not a conventional... I don't think this is the first movie people think of when it comes to marital portraits, but you'll see when I explain. And that is the 1994 action-adventure thriller The River Wild, directed by Curtis Hanson. Curtis Hanson also directed LA Confidential, Wonder Boys, Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and 8 Mile. He actually died about it in September 2016. So anyway, married couple Gail and Tom Hartman, played by Meryl Streep and David Strathairn, have a son named Rourke, played by Joseph Marzolo from Jurassic Park, and a daughter named Willa. And I believe their daughter's deaf and uses sign language. They live in Boston. She's a history teacher and scholar, and he's an architect. Their relationship is on the rocks. He's a workaholic. Meryl Streep takes Rourke on a whitewater rafting trip in Montana for his birthday weekend. And the husband is busy working. Willa comes to Montana too, but she stays with Meryl Streep's character's parents. And it's actually really cute when she's a sign language. I can't remember if it's the daughter that's deaf and uses sign language, or if it's her parents who are deaf and use sign language. I have to rewatch the film. But anyway, David Strathairn then catches up with them at the last minute, and they come across 3 rafters named Wade, played by Kevin Bacon, brilliantly by Kevin Bacon, I should say, because I'll get to that. Terry, played by John C. Reilly, and Frank, played by William Lucking. On Rourke's birthday night, Tom is disappointed with it, as his dad spends more time on architecture work than celebrating with him. And Wade and Terry end up being the ones celebrating with Rourke. However, there is more to Wade and Terry than on the surface. It turns out that the two are violent criminals, and rafting adventure ensues. This is a super fun adventure thrill ride. Like I said, it may not be a conventional Valentine's Day pick, but I included in the lineup here because it's essentially about family and marital reconciliation. Excellent performances from Meryl Streep, David Strathairn, and especially Kevin Bacon. It's so different than a lot of his other roles. It really is one of his best performances, next to Stir of Echoes. The conniving energy he gives to this character is just brilliant. And the scenery of the rapids is beautiful. The cinematography was done by Robert Elswit, the Oscar-winning cinematographer behind There'll Be Blood. He actually shot a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson's films up until recently. And the editing of the rafting sequences in The River Wild are also fantastic. They flow so nicely. No pun intended. Get it? Because, like, river flow. It was edited by David Brenner and Joe Hutching, who both won an Oscar for editing Born on the 4th of July. The River Wild, unfortunately, is not available to watch for free on any streamer, but you can rent it for a few bucks on Amazon Prime, or you can get the DVD or Blu-ray. And next up is the self-love slot, and it's a bit of a cliche to say this, but it's a cliche because it's true. You can't love others or get into a stable relationship until you love yourself first. And for this, I'm talking about Under the Tuscan Sun from 2003. This is based on Frances Mace's travelogue memoir of the same name. More so inspired by. It takes the spirit of the Tuscan setting and presents a fictional story with Frances as the main character. In the movie, after her husband leaves her for another woman, Frances, played by Diane Lane, and one of my favorite performances from her, goes on a trip to Italy with the company of her friend Patty, played by Sandra Oh. And after being amazed by the beauty of Italy, Frances impulsively decides to purchase a house in rural Tuscany. She then befriends quite a few people, including her Italian neighbors, the Polish construction workers, and a wise older actress named Catherine, played wonderfully by Lindsay Duncan. And then Frances chases after an Italian man named Marcello, who is very much a heel. And all throughout her time in Tuscany, she learns the importance of loving oneself and not relying on a man to make you happy. And like I said earlier, to reiterate, you cannot have a stable, loving relationship without that piece first. And this would actually make a great double feature with The Worst Person in the World from last Oscar cycle. I love Diane Lane. She's really such a great actress, and you cannot talk about Under the Tuscan Sun without mentioning the cinematography of the beautiful Tuscan countryside. It's just totally breathtaking. This and the book will make you want to visit Tuscany for sure. Frances Mace has quite a few travelogue memoirs about Tuscany. In fact, she wrote a new one recently. It's actually we have it at the library I work at. Okay, Frances Mace. Let's see. Yes, A Place in the World. Under the Tuscan Sun is not available to watch for free on any streamer, but you can get it on DVD or Blu-ray. Next up is the LGBTQ slot, and that is Philebus from 1915, directed by Mario Roncoroni, if I'm pronouncing his name right. This is an Italian silent spy crime adventure film. Our protagonist, Baroness Schweigsmond, that's Schweigsmond, I don't know how to pronounce it, lives a double life. She's an elegant baroness and a diamond thieving sky pirate known to the world as Philebus. And this identity is male. After Philebus robs a bank, Detective Cut Hendy decides to track her down, hoping to earn the cash reward. Ironically enough, Philebus's other identity, the Baroness, signs up for the competition as a clever way to earn some cash. She then encounters a detective and comes up with a plan to accuse him of the one who's of committing the crimes as Philebus. And the Baroness / Philebus sees Cut Hendy's beautiful sister, Leonora, and then the Baroness creates a whole new identity, Count de la Brive. It's spelled like Delabrive. she fixes Leonora's abduction and saving, like she does it like on purpose so that she can uh get to like meet and get to know Leonora. And then the Baroness slash Philibus slash Count, um the Baroness, um at first, I don't, because of all these identities, I don't know which one to uh refer to her by. Okay, so our protagonist and Leonora start liking each other, even though Leonora is already engaged to a man whom she's clearly not in love with. And as the Baroness slash Philibus slash Count and Leonora start getting closer, it becomes a tenser race against time for Cut Hendy to find Philibus and not be caught as him, if you know what I mean. And as I was explaining earlier, and most of all, it's a race against time for Philibus not to be caught herself, or himself. This movie was like 100+ years ahead of its time, displaying not being afraid to depict same-sex relationships and gender fluidity. And the the production design of the airship is incredible. It reminds me of the Thousand Suns in One Piece crossed with the boat and Karel Zeman's invention for destruction. And the editing and pacing makes it feel like a crime caper film from the 60s or 70s. It also feels like a comic book at times. Uh, yeah, I recommend this one. Philibus is on YouTube in a couple different lengths and formats, and it's on Canopy. Okay, next up, we've got the people the people of color slot. I have two people of color slots. The first one being daughter of, I mean, I I don't know if I'm a if I just don't want to sound politically incorrect, but like, let's just say like minority love stories represented. Um uh the first one of these I'm going to talk about is Daughter of Dawn from 1920, directed by Daughter of Dawn, Norbert A. Miles. Okay, this is a silent western starring a cast of all Native American actors. The narrative centers on a love triangle between Dawn, the daughter of the Kiowa chief, White Eagle, the son of a Comanche chief, and Black Wolf, the Kiowa man the Kiowa chief tries to set his daughter up with in marriage. And it's really awesome to see a movie from this time period that had a cast of more than 300 Kiowa and Comanche actors, especially because it's such an empowering love story. And I'm going to refer to this essay by Adam Pyron, if I'm correct. He is a Native American film scholar and filmmaker, and he had he wrote an essay on the Daughter of Dawn for the current that's like the Criterion collection, Criterion Channel's like scholarly magazine-ish. He he discusses in his essay that in that era there were docs about Native Americans, like In the Land of the Headhunters in 1914 and Nanook of the North in 1922. I've actually seen Nanook of the North, and I quite like that one. But those would later be declassified, if you will, as dramatizations. Whereas, surprisingly, Daughter of the Dawn remains true and well researched in terms of highlighting Kiowa and Comanche customs prior to reservations, despite it being fictionalized. It's really it's a historical, even though, like I said, even though it's fiction, this is definitely an example of historical documentation that should be taught in schools. Daughter of Dawn is on Kino Lorber Blu-ray and is available to stream on Canopy. Okay, for my next people of color slot, and this is actually perfect to reference for Black History Month. I'm gonna talk about an interracial love story called One People from 1976, directed by Pim de la Parra. This film is from Suriname, if I'm saying the name of the country correctly, which is a northern coastal country in South America. It's one of the smallest countries in the entire continent. And Suriname, or Suriname, how do I pronounce it? Let me try to see if I can Google how you pronounce it. How to pronounce Suriname. Suriname. Okay. Suriname is also known for its abundant tropical rainforests and surprising array of ethnicities and cultures. And as one would imagine, Suriname was home to indigenous people prior to colonization by the English, French, and Dutch. And after they became an independent country, this was the first film they released. And just so you know, it's not a period piece. It takes place when it was filmed, 1970s, so post-colonialism. Anyway, as far as the story goes, Roy is an Afro-Surinamese man coming home from school in the Netherlands as his mother in Paramaribo is dying. He sort of gets a reawakening as he learns more about his cultural roots. It's almost like a completely new country to him, even though it was where he was from. Then Roy falls in love with Rubia, the Hindu nurse of his mother. And there's tension between the Hindu and Black communities in the region, so their families are at odds. And this is one of the best interracial romances I have seen on screen. It shows how cultural backgrounds, no matter what they are, do not define a person, and we can come together as one people, regardless of such. And I just want to say that as far as representation in Hollywood, I think we need more roles for people of color that aren't just about the fact that they're Black or Asian or Native American, Hispanic, what have you. Like, if white people can get roles that don't constantly advertise the fact that they're Black, so can if white people can get roles that don't constantly advertise the fact that they're white, then the same should go for other ethnicities and races, if that makes sense. And anyway, One People is available to watch on YouTube. And as far as how I found out about One People, I should have mentioned this earlier. I was listening to the Pure Cinema podcast, and Roger Avery and his daughter Gayla Avery guest starred to talk about film discoveries of 2022, and this is one of Gayla's discoveries. So thank you to Gayla Avery from she's part of Video Archives now with Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery. Uh, anyway, uh, that's one, people. Moving forward, okay, this is an action adventure fantasy slot. This is a bit of an obvious pick, but still, I'm not sure how many people in my generation have seen it, and that's Highlander from 1986. Okay, so the inciting incident is that our protagonist, Russell Nash, played by Christopher Lambert, who at this point owns an antique shop, defeats a man in a New York City parking lot, and after the battle, Russell leaves behind a piece of his silver sword. And when he's arrested, he recollects his previous life as Connor MacLeod in 16th century Scotland, like he's explaining this to the police. He specifically brings up a memory of surviving fatal on paper wounds. What I mean by fatal on paper, like, uh, uh, they would have realistically killed him, but they didn't. So he survives these fatal on paper wounds in a battle against another clan. And rather than celebrating his survival, those in his own clan expel him, for they believe he made a devil pact and that's how he survived. Then Russell / Connor then meets Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez, played by the amazing Sir Sean Connery. And from him, Russell / Connor is informed that he's granted with the gift of immortality. And the thing that breaks this immortality is getting beheaded. And so Juan Sanchez becomes Russell / Connor's, well, in this case, Connor's mentor. Like in the hero's journey arc steps, as Joseph Campbell and I forget the other author's name who also talks about the hero's journey. Describes it. He would be considered the mentor archetype. And then a war forms between the immortals, in which the survivor wins the prize. And the last remaining immortal after Russell is the evil Kurgan, played by Mr. Krabs himself, Clancy Brown. Okay, and then after getting released by the police, Connor, now Russell, since he, like, many lifetimes later took on a new name, meets the forensics agent Brenda, played by Roxanne Hart. And she found some of the silver on his sword in the parking lot fight he had at the beginning of the film. And then a relationship starts between them. This movie's just awesome. What can I say? It's a classic. It's a great sword and sorcery epic as well as a New York love story. It has an awesome, inspiring soundtrack from Queen. Somebody on Letterboxd wrote that this is more historically accurate than Braveheart. And it's referenced in Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. When Ricky Bobby says, Highlander, it won an Academy Award. The best movie ever made. And then finally, I've got the spiritual love slot. And that's Meet Joe Black, directed by Martin Brest from 1998. And Martin Brest is known for directing Midnight Run, Beverly Hills Cop, uh, Scent of a Woman, uh, the 1979 Going in Style. Anyway, in this movie, Anthony Hopkins is a renowned businessman named Bill Parrish, and he is about to celebrate his 65th birthday. And prior to this milestone, Death himself takes the form of a human named Joe Black, played by Brad Pitt, a man who recently got hit by a bus, Regina George style, I should say. Uh, and then Death meets Bill, and the two agree on a deal in which if Joe is shown around human life, Bill will be given a few more days left of life. And then Death slash Joe Black starts falling in love with Bill's daughter, Susan, played wonderfully by Claire Forlani. It's a really beautiful love story, as well as a fish out of water tale. There's a really funny scene where like he's introduced to peanut butter, and it has interesting things to say about not only uh, loving others, but also loving life itself. Brad Pitt and Anthony Hopkins give amazing performances, and Claire Forlani is just so elegant and classy. I, I, what can I say? I love this movie so much. It it makes me smile and shed a tear of joy. Um, a beautiful score by Thomas Newman, and it has a really, really great cover of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Uh, so yeah, those are my picks for uh the Valentine's Day romance sampler. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to check out more of my videos, uh, click the like button and subscribe. The links to my socials are in the description below. It was nice talking with you all, recommending all these films to you. I hope everyone has a happy Valentine's Day, and thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.